All right, strap in, everybody. Today, we are going deep on some predictions from this Polish clairvoyant named Krzysztof Jackowski.
Yeah, Krzysztof Jackowski.
And we've just got this one YouTube video
That's right. One raw, unfiltered YouTube video.
where he just lays out all these predictions for the future.
Yep.
And, we're not saying any of this is gospel.
Right.
But it's really interesting stuff.
It really is. And what's really fascinating about this particular source is that you get to see him kind of thinking in real time, like he's having these visions, and then grappling with what they could mean, what they could imply.
Yeah, like working through it as he's describing it.
Exactly.
So he jumps right in and talks about this coming spring.
Okay.
And he's not exactly predicting a picnic.
No.
Especially if you're a farmer or anyone who eats, for that matter.
Right.
He's talking about some wild temperature swings, just up and down, really volatile.
Volatilely.
And then this double wave of frost.
Yeah, that's a really interesting detail, that double wave. It's like, the farmers think they're in the clear, the crops are coming up, and then bam,
oh, wow,
another frost hits.
Ooh.
And he makes it sound like that could be just devastating, not just for, individual farms, but for food supplies, prices, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, I mean, think about what that would mean at the grocery store.
Exactly.
Yeah, not a good situation.
No. But...
and so it seems like, nature's being a little chaotic.
Yeah.
But that also kind of seems to be mirroring what he's seeing in the political landscape, too.
Right.
Particularly, he talks about Poland and some serious trouble brewing for the current government there.
Oh.
Even goes so far as to suggest a potential collapse. I gotta admit, I was starting to feel a little nervous at this point in the video.
Yeah, and then he ties that into the situation in Ukraine.
Right.
It's a whole other layer.
It all seems to be connected for him.
Yeah, and not in a good way.
No.
He sees a forced peace treaty basically being pushed on Ukraine,
Yeah.
but one they ultimately reject, which then leads to even more destruction and suffering. And he even talks about cities that have been safe up to this point, like being targeted.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it gets pretty grim.
It does.
And then he shifts gears and starts talking about the global stage.
Okay.
And what he sees there is some major power shifts, specifically with the USA, led by Trump in his vision, becoming even more dominant.
Okay.
And he actually uses this term, modern colonialism.
Yeah, that's a chilling phrase, I gotta say.
It is, and it's worth unpacking a bit, because what he seems to be getting at is this world where smaller countries are basically forced to choose between, their autonomy and their security.
Right.
They become more and more reliant on these superpowers for protection.
Yeah.
Even if it means sacrificing their independence.
So it's like a new world order where the most powerful players are basically calling all the shots.
That's what it sounds like.
Okay, so just to recap, we've got a volatile spring, a shaky Polish government, suffering Ukraine, and this potential rise of modern colonialism.
Right.
And, you might think, well, it can't get much worse than that. But then Jackowski just drops this whole prediction about a global economic crisis.
Oh, yeah.
Energy shortages, mass unemployment, skyrocketing inflation. And he says it's going to hit Poland particularly hard. But let's be real.
Yeah.
We're all connected in this global economy.
Absolutely. We all feel it.
So this is where his predictions start to feel a little too close for comfort.
It does hit home because what he's basically saying is that, all these power plays on the world stage, they have very real consequences for everyday people.
Yeah.
Our jobs, our savings, even our ability to, put food on the table.
Right. It all comes back to that.
It really does.
Wow. And speaking of global shifts, he also just throws out this bombshell about NATO.
What does he say about NATO?
He sees Trump essentially dissolving the alliance as we know it. And not just dissolving it, but replacing it with something much more exclusive, with stricter entry requirements that could leave some current members out in the cold.
So it's not just about ending NATO. It's about completely reshaping the global security landscape.
That's exactly what it sounds like, yeah.
And that could have huge implications for, international relations, balance of power, the whole thing.
Right. I mean, we're talking about a potential domino effect here.
Yeah.
Each prediction just seems to escalate the tension, the instability.
It's like a chain reaction.
It really is. And just when I thought I had a handle on where this was all going, he throws out this prediction about the European Union.
Okay, what about the EU?
That just completely caught me off guard.
Yeah.
What's so striking is that he doesn't see it gradually fading away.
Okay.
He sees Germany taking the lead to actually dismantle it.
Really?
Arguing that individual countries would be better off negotiating their own deals with these emerging superpowers.
So every man for himself kind of situation?
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
Wow.
And, we're already in pretty unsettling territory at this point, but then Jackowski shares what is probably his most disturbing prediction.
Oh boy, what is it?
He sees portions of northeastern Poland actually being occupied by foreign troops.
No way.
And what's truly chilling is that he sees it happening without any resistance.
Wow.
Like just rolling right in.
It's like he's suggesting a total loss of sovereignty.
Yeah, like imagine a scenario where your own country is just carved up and occupied.
Yeah.
And nobody even puts up a fight.
It's hard to even wrap your head around that.
It is. And he even suggests that the Polish president would be accused of treason.
Oh, wow.
Like implying a total breakdown of trust.
Yeah, complete sense of helplessness.
Exactly. And I have to admit, this is where I started to wonder, like, is there any light at the end of this tunnel?
It's a heavy question.
It really is.
It really is.
But before we go down that road, maybe we should just pause here for a moment.
Yeah, let's take a breath.
Yeah, let's just process what we've learned so far, because I think what's really fascinating here is not just the predictions themselves,
Right.
but the patterns they seem to be revealing.
Yeah, what are you seeing?
Well, it's like Jackowski is painting this picture of a world that's just on the brink of some major transformation.
Okay.
A world where all the old certainties are crumbling and these new power dynamics are emerging.
Yeah, it's a pretty intense picture he's painting.
It really is.
It really is.
Okay, so right before we paused there, we were talking about this really heavy prediction about foreign troops potentially occupying parts of Poland.
Right.
And I gotta say, it's a pretty terrifying thought.
It is. And you know what really struck me about that particular prediction was the lack of resistance he described?
Yeah.
It's like almost like he's suggesting this level of apathy or maybe even complicity within the government or even among the Polish people themselves.
Yeah, like they just kind of accept it.
Right, which makes you think, like, what would lead to that kind of resignation?
Right.
In the face of such a blatant violation.
Yeah, it's a question that's been rattling around in my head ever since I watched that part of the video.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And then to make things even more unsettling, he brings up this idea of a mysterious agenda that's dictating decisions about Poland's future.
Oh, yeah. That's where things get really, really intriguing.
Yeah.
And honestly, a little creepy.
A little bit, yeah.
Because he doesn't specify who or what is behind this agenda.
Yeah, it's very vague.
Which kind of opens up this whole Pandora's box of speculation. Is he talking about like a shadowy organization, a foreign government pulling strings, some kind of global elite?
Right. Like who are these puppet masters?
Exactly. And he just leaves it open to interpretation.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I think makes it even more unsettling.
It does. It's like this feeling of looming chaos.
Yeah.
But with these powerful forces at play that we might not even be aware of.
Right.
It's like he's tapping into this collective anxiety about the future.
Yeah, that fear that we're losing control.
Exactly.
And if you think about it, this idea of an agenda plays right into his earlier prediction about modern colonialism.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, if smaller countries are being pressured to give up their autonomy in exchange for security, it's not hard to imagine a scenario where their decisions are being, increasingly influenced or even dictated by these more powerful players.
So it's not just about military force anymore.
Yeah.
It's about this more subtle form of control.
Exactly.
That might operate through economics or politics, even information.
Absolutely. And speaking of information, he actually had some pretty pointed things to say about the media.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He predicts that Trump will essentially launch this propaganda war against Poland.
Oh, wow.
Targeting both the government and the people.
And that's a prediction that really makes you think about the whole information landscape these days.
Yeah.
I mean, we're constantly bombarded with news and opinions from all sides.
All sides.
And it's getting harder and harder to figure out what's real, what's spin, what's outright manipulation.
It really is. And that's why I think, even if we don't take Jackowski's vision as literal prophecy,
right,
it serves as this really stark reminder of the importance of media literacy.
Yeah.
We can't just passively consume information anymore.
Right.
We have to be critical thinkers.
Yeah.
Question our sources, consider multiple perspectives.
Really think for ourselves.
Exactly.
And it's interesting because that prediction about the propaganda war, it ties into another recurring theme in his vision.
Okay.
Which is this potential for social unrest and internal divisions. He talks about Ukrainians turning against each other, Americans rebelling against government policies.
Right.
And, of course, all the turmoil within Poland itself.
It's like this breakdown of trust, not just in governments and institutions, but also within communities, families. And that sense of disillusionment, that frustration, it can create this breeding ground for conflict, both on a personal level and on a societal level.
Right. And if you think about the economic hardship he's predicting, the unemployment, the inflation, the potential for real scarcity, it's not hard to see how that could further exacerbate those divisions.
Absolutely, absolutely.
People struggling to survive are more likely to turn on each other, to scapegoat, to look for someone to blame.
It creates this climate of fear and uncertainty. Where people are just more susceptible to manipulation.
Propaganda.
Exactly. And it becomes this vicious cycle where the social fabric is weakened, making it even easier for those in power to exert their control.
It's hard to listen to all of this and not feel a sense of dread. But there's one aspect of his predictions that I found particularly unsettling.
Okay.
And that's his focus on personal tragedies. He mentions receiving a lot of emails about people dying suddenly and unexpectedly. And he expresses concern about a rise in suicides.
That's the part that really humanizes these predictions. It's a reminder that behind all the geopolitical machinations and power struggles, there are real people whose lives are being profoundly affected.
And it makes you wonder, are these personal tragedies just a reflection of the turbulent times? Or are they somehow a direct consequence of these political and economic forces at play?
That's a huge question, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, history has shown us time and again that when societies are under immense stress, it often takes a toll on the mental and physical well-being of individuals. But it also makes you think about the choices we make as individuals. About how we navigate these challenges, how we support each other through difficult times.
You're right. We can't forget about that aspect of it.
Absolutely.
And speaking of navigating challenges, amidst all of this darkness, Jackowski does offer a glimmer of hope. Okay.
He sees a future where people turn away from materialistic pursuits and rediscover the value of simpler things.
So kind of like a return to basics.
Yeah, it's an interesting counterpoint to his predictions of economic hardship and social unrest.
Yeah. What do you make of that? Well, it's like he's suggesting that out of this adversity could come a shift in values. A renewed appreciation for human connection, community, a sense of purpose beyond material possessions.
Yeah, that's a powerful idea.
It is. And it's a thought I'd like to hold on to.
Yeah.
But before we get too far into that, we need to address the elephant in the room here. How do we actually prepare for this potential future that Jackowski's laid out for us?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is.
And while there are no easy answers, I think there are some key takeaways from his vision that can help us navigate these uncertain times. But before we delve into that, maybe we should just take a quick break to gather our thoughts.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, so we've been through the ringer with all these predictions, global power shifts, economic turmoil, even foreign troops in Poland. It's a lot to process.
It is.
But we don't want to leave you just wallowing in anxiety. We want to leave you with some actionable insights.
Things you can actually do.
Some ways to navigate these potentially rough waters.
Absolutely. And I think Jackowski's vision, despite all the dark stuff, it actually offers some valuable clues. He's basically urging us to prepare not just practically, but also mentally and emotionally.
So what are some of those key takeaways? Like, what should our listener be focusing on?
Well, the first one that really jumps out at me is the importance of being informed.
And you might be thinking, well, duh, of course.
Yeah.
But you're talking about something a little deeper than that.
Exactly. I'm not just talking about keeping up with the headlines. I'm talking about being a discerning consumer of information, questioning what you read, what you hear, digging deeper, considering different perspectives.
So it's not just about the quantity of information. It's about the quality.
Exactly.
And how we process it.
Yeah, we can't just passively absorb everything that's thrown at us.
Yeah.
We need to actively engage with it.
Right. Challenge it. Form our own opinion.
Exactly.
Okay, so informed, check.
And this kind of ties into the second takeaway, which is the need for adaptability.
Oh, okay.
Jackowski's vision. It really paints this picture of a world in flux, where the old rules may no longer apply.
Yeah.
So that means being prepared to adjust to new circumstances, to think outside the box.
To be flexible.
Exactly.
Rigidity.
Embrace the flow.
Exactly. Because let's face it, change is inevitable.
Yeah.
And resisting it only makes things harder.
Makes it worse.
So being adaptable, it allows us to navigate those changes.
To roll with the punches.
And even potentially find opportunities amidst all the disruption.
Okay, so informed, adaptable.
What else?
Well, this might seem obvious, but Jackowski's vision really underscores the importance of connection.
Okay, connection.
He's predicting this future where traditional institutions, support systems, they might be weakened or even collapse.
Yeah.
And that's where our personal connections, our families, our friends, our communities, they become even more vital.
So in this world that's potentially becoming more unstable,
Hey.
more individualistic, it's our relationships that provide the strength, the resilience.
Exactly. Building strong, supportive relationships.
Yeah.
It's not just about feeling good. It's about creating a safety net for ourselves and for those around us.
Yeah, support system.
Having people we can rely on, people who can offer different perspectives, skills, resources.
I love that it's a good reminder that even with all this potential global turmoil,
Yeah.
our personal connections are still a source of strength and hope.
Absolutely.
And honestly, that's a message I think we all need to hear right now.
I agree. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I think that's the most important takeaway.
Okay.
We can't control what the future holds,
Right.
but we can control how we respond to it.
Yeah.
We can choose to be informed, adaptable, connected.
Be prepared.
We can choose to build resilience in ourselves and our communities.
Yeah.
And we can choose to face the future, whatever it may bring, with a sense of hope.
And determination.
Absolutely.
Beautifully said. So, listeners, as you go about your day,
Yeah.
think about what really resonated with you from Jackowski's predictions.
Yeah.
What are some steps you can take, even small ones, to be more informed, adaptable, connected?
Right.
Maybe start a conversation with someone you trust about these topics.
Yeah. Good idea.
Remember, these are just predictions,
Right.
not a predetermined fate.
We still have a choice.
We still have the power to shape our own future,
Absolutely.
individually and collectively.
Well said.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes. Thank you.
We encourage you to keep learning, keep questioning, and keep connecting.
Until next time.
Stay curious and stay engaged.